Hello, everybody. My name is Ed. I'm in my armchair, and the smoking lamp is lit. And guess what I'm smoking today? My favorite pipe. Look at this guy. It's a company called Road Town. It's bamboo. Bent billiard. So as you may know, I just finished a whole year of To Smoke Every Pipe. And I tried to go through all of my pipes in different batches, if you will. Like 1 month with all my poker pipes, another month with my meerschaums, bent pipes, straight pipes. And basically got through them. So that started July of last year and just ended June. Had 3 months of smoking my Stanwells. And the idea was I will smoke at least one pipe, the Stanwells. I had to do 2 Stanwells. I have so many Stanwells. But if I was doing my poker pipes, I had to smoke a poker's pipe each day, at least. And then I would go and smoke, whatever. So I did that for a whole year. And, I had a few other odds and ends that I got caught up with at the end of June. But the bamboo, I kind of missed them. They're in their own little pipe rack stand. I have 4 of this size kind of Stanwells or bamboo. I have a few other bamboo, and I have a few Stanwells bamboo. Smoke those all when was necessary, or as the month came around. But I found these. It's like, I don't think I got to those. So anyway, I have 4 bamboo pipes that I had to smoke, as part of it. So a little bit behind, but I am pleased with myself in the sense that I smoked them all. I was proud. And it was fun. And it's important that all of my pipes feel loved. I mean, I don't have pipes that are like just for display. They're all pipes that I smoked when I first got them and then threw out. So that's what I did for my To Smoke Every Pipe. And I might do that. I probably will do that again, maybe a couple years from now. I've already done it once before. So 2 times where I've spent a whole year just smoking all of my pipes. Anyway, that's the truth. Well, anywho, July 4th is only a couple days away. 250 years ago, we had the Declaration of Independence, July 4th. Wow. Anyway, this video would be freedom is not free. This is a VR to Blue Cord Custom Woodworks Rooster. That alone, you gotta watch them. Anybody by Rooster, love them. New presenter, at least new for me. But he is doing a little giveaway for 4th of July. And he wants you to talk about freedom isn't free. And the first thing I thought of is what I'll get up to. But when you think about it, yes, freedom isn't free. The costs that we've had, if you're thinking about the negative cost, still is atrocious. The wars that we've been in, especially Revolutionary War, when we truly fought to have freedoms. Of course, World War I, World War II could have been big-time disasters for the whole world, and had this been not happened the way it did. So lucky there. Vietnam, that's a different story. People question if what were we doing there, whatever. But it still was our military, our government going to fight what they thought was a good cause. To fight for communism, to fight for those countries that want to have democracy. So yes, a lot of people fought for freedom. I mean, we just have some great freedoms compared to other places. And I'm just going to be, as I said, this is a tough little thing to talk about. But I'm just going to do some odds and ends because it's what I'm thinking of. But like a friend of mine who, when we were over in Vietnam, he had actually been in somewhere near Da Nang. And the thing that scared him is he was on, there was an explosion probably a block away from him. And of course, you know, since he wasn't like, he was from my ship, so, you know, he was jumped. But what he mentioned to me was, what was so weird is how the many people that were right around him didn't do much of anything. It's like they were so used to explosions and bombs going off, a whole different thought pattern for them than what would be for us. So, you know, these are people that were not in the military, lives affected. Me, yes, I was in the military. Yes, you know, have 4 years. But what's interesting to me is the freedoms or the costs of the freedoms that a lot of times you don't really pay attention to. For example, I mentioned this 2 months ago, what happened to my ship, where 4 people died on that ship that day. My mother's older sister, her husband, my uncle, was in the Army at Fort Dix. And so she had access to military stuff. And they have a newspaper, Stars and Stripes. And Stars and Stripes had an article on this incident, whereas the papers probably didn't. Well, I'm pretty sure they didn't. But her reaction to this was she was just scared for her sister, my mother. And so they went to visit, which is about 45 minutes away, from Jersey and Pennsylvania. And the whole time she's worried about what has happened. What does my mother know as what's happened? And of course, one thing she did know was military, that it wouldn't be in Stars and Stripes if the parents of those people had not been notified. So she had that, but she went to see my mother, and had to just kind of feel her out, and then realized, okay, she hadn't read and heard anything. Of course, I hadn't called because we didn't get out back into a place where I could call for close to a week and a half. So I hadn't contacted my mom. So my aunt basically told my mom what happened. And of course, my mom worried about me, hadn't heard anything. My aunt did tell her that, the military would have let you know if something had happened. And eventually I did get to a place where I could call, and I called to just say, okay, we had this incident. I'm okay. And it's that kind of thing. You're thinking, these are the costs to people that had nothing to do with it. They had a son that was in the military, but they weren't fighting for it. But they had a cost. They had to worry about this kind of thing. I found out much later, and you kind of knew this, but it was much, much later. I mean, my mom was already probably 75 or something like that, already retired, when I was just talking to her, and she had mentioned that while I was in the service, every day she worried about me. Just my being in the service was a cost to her. And I didn't think about that. I knew it, but at the same time, I didn't think about it. When she finally mentioned it, it kind of dawned on me. Yeah, there was a cost to her. So you think of how many people they have these kind of costs. And yeah, Vietnam was different, but still, stuff was going on, and we were fighting for the freedoms. There was a cost. for these freedoms. Some wars are more obvious than others, but there's still wars, there's still military, there's still people affected by these. And we've had for 250 years now of things going on. And of course, the thing that I first thought of with this, and I'll conclude with this, is, and it's a dumb one. When I got out of the service in Vietnam, I entered the service from Denver, Colorado. So I went back to Denver, Colorado, and that's where I was going to go to college. So I didn't have any of the issues that a lot of people had of, people looking at me strange and stuff. Because at first, I had to wear my uniform to get home, when I was, and, but I had heard horror stories of way people treated our veterans coming home. Some of them almost sounded like the only reason you joined is, so that you can kill puppies or babies or, they really had to discuss a lot to these servicemen. I didn't really see that. Basically, nobody said anything either or for the most part, but it's still, people weren't a big thing about me being in the military. That was over 50 years ago. Now, things have changed. And for the better. I'll have two instances. One, my brother and I were at this great steakhouse, Del Frisco's in Colorado. Have a smoking lamp or smoking lounge. And we would go there, smoke a cigar, have our dinner, then probably go back, smoke another cigar, because it was just a beautiful place. And one time we were there, and we were at sitting around a small little table, and this father and son, just asked if we could join, simply because, they wanted to sit down while they were waiting for their meal. And then somewhere in the conversation, it was mentioned that I had been in the military. And this gentleman stood up and wanted to shake my hand. It made me feel so good. But 50 years ago, before that, coming out of Vietnam, out of the military, that wasn't happening too much. And then another one, the first thing I thought of with this VR for, freedom isn't free. Again, it's the same attitude. Me and my best friend were golfing. And this was only about 3-4 years ago. And there was the two of us. And we got two young kids that were both in their high school's golf team. Now they were young, so they were still learning how to play golf. So they were probably sophomores. I doubt if they were juniors, but they were that young, high school. And somewhere in our conversations, because you introduce yourself and you're doing stuff. And throughout the playing, it came up that I, was a serviceman, Navy. And both of these kids, young little kids that sometimes you just think, a bunch of young whippersnappers. They have no respect, no nothing. They both stopped and thanked me for my service. And my friend and I just kind of go, wow, these are at least two kids that were raised right. So I know I was rambling and whatever, but the thing is, yes, freedom isn't free. Sometimes the costs you don't pay attention to them, but they're there. And all of this so that we can be in the United States. Yeah, I'm kind of a patriot that way. But there's many, many places in the world, that have great freedoms also. But unfortunately, there's a lot of places that do not. Kind of pray for those people all the time. But I'm glad we have our freedoms. Thank you for listening. Well, I hope you like this. And remember, if you don't like this, you're not going to get to heaven. So may your smoking lamp always be lit. Take care out there. And happy 4th. Happy 250th.